In July, the fittest athletes on earth battled as individuals at the CrossFit Games.
Today, Superman does not wear a red cape. He wears a CrossFit Games jersey and a gold medal. Katrin David's daughter is the fittest woman on earth.
Tonight, adversaries become teammates united against regional rivals. 4 teams from around the globe have come to the cultural capital of Spain for an all-star matchup with international bragging rights on the line. The United States, the 4-time fittest man on earth, leads a group of invitational rookies trying to repeat last year's victory in California. Canada, they were one event away from victory last year. Now, 2 vets join a pair of talented up-and-comers in a quest to pry the championship away from their North American neighbors. Pacific. As individuals, they have been full of surprises this year. As a team, they hope to pull off one more in Madrid. Europe. The fittest woman on earth leads a young but dangerous team as they try to defend their home turf and bring home another crown. 4 teams, 1 night, 1 winner. It's the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational.
Welcome to the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. We are at the Caja Magica here in Madrid, Spain, where a group of crazy CrossFit Games fans from all across Europe have gathered to see the fittest athletes on earth throw it down for international bragging rights. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rory McKernan, and this year, the 4th of the Invitational on paper promises to be the closest competition we've seen yet.
Thank you, Ro. When you look at these teams, as far as their average games finishes are concerned, it has never been closer, and that means that the edge has to go to Europe.
And hands down, that was my initial reaction, was Europe is going to have this one in the bag. If you're looking at overall score, overall average scoring of this year, they sit in about 4th place overall. But if you look at the USA team, even though they've had 3 substitutions, they sit at about 6th place. So it's going to be a battle between those two teams, and it's going to be really exciting.
For the second time in this 2 years, we have had 4 teams of 4 individuals. And we begin with the team that nearly won it last year, the Canadians. They are led by 2 invitational veterans, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet and Lucas Parker.
And Lucas Parker, one of the most recognizable CrossFitters out there with that red beard. He's a very technical, very calculated athlete. I saw so much enthusiasm and emotion from him last year. It's going to be fun to watch him this year in this competition.
Team Europe is coached by Samantha Briggs. They have 3 Icelandic athletes and 1 man from Finland, that's Joona Koski, but they are led by the defending fittest woman on earth, Katrin David's daughter.
Not only does she have experience with these team competitions, she's improved her mental game going from last year to this year, which got her to the top of the podium this year. And they always talk about the team and how the success of your team is going to be based on your women, and what better person to have than the absolute best.
The Pacific team, 3 Australians and 1 man from New Zealand. That is Kevin Manuel, and their team will be coached by Rob Forte. Cara Webb leads the way for this team. She is coming off her best career finish at the CrossFit Games.
And even though they have a great athlete in Rob Forte as the coach, I think Cara Webb, with her experience, not only just gained the individual experience, but being on that 2013 World team, she's going to be that leader from inside, which is going to be great for this team.
And finally, the defending champions, the United States. Rich Froning, originally the coach of this team. Ben Smith was unable to compete because of a back injury he suffered during training. He will be fine for next year. He had to step out. Rich Froning steps in.
First of all, what are you going to say? If you can add the best of the best to your team, you know that's going to be a plus. But not only does he have individual experience, he has team championship experience. He has the best team. So you add that to your team, and that's going to be deadly to the rest of the field.
There will be 5 scored events over the next 2 hours, and we begin with thrusters and rope climbs. They will do them 1 at a time, female, male, female, male. The first 2 athletes will do the rope climbs with their legs, but the next 2 have to do those rope climbs legless.
The majority of this event is going to be fast and furious, but it's really going to come down to that second female and how they're going to be able to handle that legless rope climb.
95 pounds on the bar for the men, 65 pounds on the bar for the women. Margot Alvarez will lead it off for the United States. She is an invitational rookie. Alvarez coming off her best career finish at the CrossFit Games. She was 9th this year. The crowd was so loud they didn't hear the start buzzer, so we have to get this thing going again. They have been friends off of the court, but now it's time to get down to business. International pride is on the line here as we start the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. Margot Alvarez leading off for the United States, 21 thrusters, and then she will move to the rope for 4 rope climbs. Emily Abbott is the leadoff for Canada. Keep an eye on the top of the screen. The team in blue will be your leader. The number of reps they have completed will be in the white box. The teams behind them in red, the number in the white box will indicate the number of reps they are behind. Australia currently leads. That is Tia Toomey, the second fittest woman on earth, to the rope first, and she is done with 1 rope climb.
Now this is where it's going to be very interesting on those rope climbs. Even though all of these athletes, the first 2 athletes get to use their legs, they still have to pace themselves correctly. As all of the CrossFitters out there know, when you're doing something that resembles Fran, a 21:15.9 of a thruster, and anything that's going to be moving you fast, you're going to have that lactic acid burn, so you have to make sure that you pace yourself, even though it is an all-out sprint.
Tia Toomey slightly ahead of Margot Alvarez. Toomey is back to her barbell. She will do 15 thrusters at 65 pounds. Alvarez back to the barbell, as is Emily Abbott in the red. And Katrin Davidsdottir for Europe is in 4th.
Catherine right there. This is an event that I'm sure once they said rope climb, she was going to be a little nervous about this. The rope climbs have never been really her specialty, so she just needs to kind of hang in there. She knows that in Sarah Sigmundsdottir they're going to have a much better rope climber when it comes to the legless, so she just needs to keep her team close.
Tia Toomey continues to hold the lead for the Pacific team. Emily Abbott is second to the rope, and now Margot Alvarez, as the United States is back in 3rd. Europe sits in 4th place, but Alvarez done with her first rope climb on her second set, as is Emily Abbott, and now Tia Toomey done as well, but she is right back up. 54 reps need to be completed by the first athlete, then the women will tag off to the first male athlete. Tia Toomey is on to her final set of thrusters. She will perform 9, and then she will tag off to Kevin Manuel. Cara Webb in front of Toomey, coaching her through. As the Pacific team is opening up a significant lead on the United States, but Canada and Emily Abbott on the right of your screen holding close to Tia Toomey, and Abbott and Toomey making their way back for their final 2 rope climbs. Toomey right back up on the left. Abbott chasing her on the right.
And if you look at how they're both picking their feet up, Tia Toomey was really lifting her legs up a lot higher, and that was allowing her to get through those ropes much faster.
Toomey has made the tag to Kevin Manuel, who is the tallest athlete in this competition. He'll have a much bigger range of motion here.
So for the thruster, he's going to have to do a little bit more distance, but if you can look down at his feet, he's actually taking a pretty wide stance, so that is going to shorten up that squat that he has to do. However, once they get to the rope climbs, we're going to see both him and Alex Vigneault so tall that it's going to be 1 pull for those athletes.
Dan Bailey is on to his first set of 21 thrusters at 95 pounds as the Europe team is falling back, as Davidsdottir making the tag to the youngest man in this competition, Jona Koski. Alex Vigneault and Kevin Manuel are fighting for the lead. The Pacific team still in front, 76 reps. At 108 reps, they will tag off to the second and final female athlete.
Wow, these guys are just really pulling ahead. They've moved really well. For being such tall athletes, move so fast through the thrusters, and they're just really moving through these rope climbs, making it look just so easy. 1 pull for both of them.
Kevin Manuel at the bottom of your screen, making his way back to the barbell for his set of 15. Dan Bailey working on his first set of rope climbs, as Alex Vigneault will now join Kevin Manuel on the barbell. Pacific continues to lead. Canada is 5 reps back, Europe 9 reps back, and now the United States falling further off the pace as well.
What Dan Bailey really needs to do is use his short, I don't want to say lack of height on those thrusters, but he really needs to turn on the juice when he gets to those numbers and really put the pressure on these taller athletes like Kevin Manuel there in the green.
Manuel collecting his breath as he moves back for 3 rope climbs. Again, the first 2 athletes can use their legs. The second 2 have to perform the rope climbs legless. They will have fewer repetitions to complete, but it's a much more difficult movement. Alex Vigno, the game's rookie, the man who pushed Matt Fraser at the East Regional this year, trying to chase down Kevin Manuel, who has a significant advantage here with his height. But Vigno is threatening to catch him. The United States and Europe fighting for 3rd place. Manuel's done. He has 9 thrusters left. Jonakoski for the Europe team with 2 rope climbs to go on his second set. The Pacific team and the first man from New Zealand to compete at the games in the open era, Kevin Manuel, leading event number 1, 6 points to the winner, 4 points for second place, 2 for third, and none for fourth. And Kevin Manuel is done, and 2 final rope climbs before he will tag off to Cara Webb. Alex Vigno making his way back to the rope and trying to stay even with Kevin Manuel. It's a fight between the Pacific team and the Canada team for the lead in the first of 5 scored events.
And I'll say Kevin Manuel in the green looks like he's really tiring out, but he's still able to keep pushing through that lactic acid burn that's just sizzling inside him right now.
Manuel tagging off to Cara Webb, the woman who finished 5th at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Games, and she will have to battle Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet in the red. It's still Pacific and Canada fighting for the top spot in the opening event of the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. 159 is the magic number that Cara Webb needs to hit before she will tag off to the final male, Ben Gerard, for the Pacific team.
Now we just saw that China Cho just got her hand off, and we talked about this particular position being extremely important in the female and how they're going to do those legless rope climbs. I'm not sure what happened with Dan Bailey. It looked like he got a little bit behind when Jonakoski passed him up, but now China Cho really has the pressure put on her to get USA back into the game here.
Cara Webb has completed her first legless rope climbs. She's on the left, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet on the right. She's through one. Webb looking to get back up. They cannot use their legs on the way up, but they can use them to control the descent, and they have to make the touch on that beam. They can't touch that shackle that the rope is attached to. Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet is now done with her second legless rope climb, 3 total in this first round. China Cho for the Americans, making her first invitational appearance.
And every time they've had a rope event, China has been so just dominant in that. So not only does she have to just do well, she needs to go up and really push the limits and really catch up to this, which she looks like she's able to do right now.
China Cho making up ground for the Americans as Europe is falling behind. On the left is Cara Webb. She is your leader for the Pacific team. On the far right of the screen, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, who's trying to catch up with the Pacific team, and now Europe gaining ground.
Look how calm Camille is. Now granted, she's a shorter athlete, so she's not having a huge range of motion, but this is that relaxed experience that we always talk about with Camille.
Cara Webb is done, but Sarah Sigmundsdottir, the 3rd fittest woman on earth, is catching up, and now all 4 women will be at the rope at the same time. Cara Webb has watched that lead disappear, but she will be the first woman to begin her second set of legless rope climbs. Sarah Sigmundsdottir has helped Europe now move into second, and China Cho has the Americans in 3rd.
And the difference I'm seeing here with these athletes is as Cara's up starting, she has really, really short pulls. The other athletes like China and Sarah, much longer pulls. Look at how China's reaching out there to get that distance.
China Cho taking over the lead for the United States, and Sigmundsdottir has put Europe in second, and Cho is working her way back to the barbell, as is Sarah Sigmundsdottir. Cara Webb moving the Pacific team into 3rd, and here comes Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet.
This is exactly what USA needed. They needed to have a powerful woman get on that rope if they were going to have any shot with this particular event. Sarah Sigmundsdottir has been moving really well on the thruster and hanging tight on the rope, but this is where China needs to put the exclamation point on this event for Rich to get out there.
China Cho back to the rope first, followed by Cara Webb and Sarah Sigmundsdottir. If Cho can hang on to this lead, she gets to hand off to the 4-time fittest man on earth, Rich Froning, and that's a heck of a man to be running the anchor leg in this event. Cho is done, and she will now hand off to Rich Froning. Sarah Sigmundsdottir tags off to Bjørven Gudmundsen. And the Pacific team has fallen into 4th place as Camille tags off to Lucas Parker.
This is exactly what Rich needed. He needed China to give him a lead. He needed China to get that team back into the front so where he could just go and put the stomp on this particular event for the USA team.
Ben Gerard on the left of your screen in the green is now getting to work on the final leg for the Pacific team. 210 is the number that they are working towards. Rich Froning done with his 21. The Americans looking to lock up 6 points in the opening event of the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. Bjørven Gudmundsen and Lucas Parker now trying to chase down Froning.
We could say a lot that Rich can do so many things so well, but he really does climb ropes, whether it's legless or not legless. He's one of the best rope climbers in the CrossFit community, the CrossFit athletes out there.
Froning done, now back to the barbell with 15 thrusters in his second round. Lucas Parker trying to move Canada into 2nd place ahead of Europe. And Froning continues to open up a bigger margin on the field. Parker has moved Canada into 2nd. Bjørven Gudmundsen back to the barbell for 15 thrusters. Europe is in 3rd, and the Pacific team, who led for most of this event, has fallen back into 4th place.
Lucas is a super powerful athlete. Again, a shorter range of motion with a lot of his movement. And he did really well on the rope too, really putting them into 2nd place. But Rich just dominates. When it comes to thrusters, he's always so relaxed. He's able to breathe at the right places, but his rope climbs are impeccable, which is crazy because this is what hurt him the very first year he was at the game.
A man by the name of Graham Holmberg and a rope kept Rich Froning from winning the CrossFit Games in 2010. Had it not been for those 2 things, Froning may have won 5 in a row. And Rich Froning is now done with his 2 legless rope climbs. He has 9 thrusters and 1 legless rope climb to go. Lucas Parker sprinting back to the bar. He's trying to catch Froning. The battle for 3rd is between the Pacific and Europe. Froning 2 to go. And he'll have 1 legless rope climb and a final sprint to the finish line to close out the opening event of the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. But here comes Lucas Parker. Froning right to the rope. Parker, he wastes no time either. Froning will make the touch, and the Americans will lock up 6 points in event number 1.
Impressive. You know what? I was calling them out of the gate on this particular workout, but I really got nervous in the beginning. They were way further back than I thought they would be.
Canada will finish 2nd. The Pacific team is solidly in 3rd. Pacific is in 4th as Bjørven Gudmundsen is now done. Ben Gerard, the last man to the rope. So no points for the Pacific team. Europe will lock up 2 points. But that event for the Americans was very Froning-like. As Ben Gerard hears it from the crowd, the only man left on the competition floor, he will sprint across the finish line and close out the opening event in front of a very energetic crowd here in Madrid, Spain.
That was a super fun event to watch. It was very fast and furious. But this was exactly what we were hoping for. We wanted to see a battle, and we really haven't talked about Canada all that much. And look, they just hopped right in there in a very close 2nd place.
Rich Froning talking things over with Ben Gerard. Margot Alvarez on the opening leg for the United States fell behind, but kept the pace that was good enough for the rest of her team.
She did, and it was moving great, but what the entire thing came down to China, and she took the team from 4th place to 1st place and just allowed Rich to do what he does, which is go and win.
And when Rich Froning has a lead, he's a tough man to catch, but if you know the history of Rich Froning, he has a history of sort of lagging behind, and then at the end he turns it on, and that's what the Americans do as they take event number 1 with a time of 12:25.68 seconds, and Rory McKernan is standing by with the woman who put the United States in 1st place for good.
Well, we suspected it would come down to the 2nd female, and it did. China, you did amazing at Tommy V at regionals. How did this event compare to that?
This one was a little different because it was legless, and Tommy V had legs, but I think rope climbs are kind of my thing. I like them.
Did a lot of thought go into the order of athletes for the Team USA?
Yeah, it did actually, because Margot's also very good at legless rope climbs, but she felt a little bit more comfortable with me going, so that's how we went.
Well, it's your first Invitational. How did this event help you get rid of the jitters for the competition?
I don't think it really did, but it's good to get the ball rolling, so I'm excited.
Thanks, China.
Thank you.
The United States, thanks to the efforts of that woman, China Jones. 6 points. Canada with 4 and Europe with 2. The 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational on ESPN. Brought to you by Reebok, the exclusive outfitter of CrossFit and the CrossFit Invitational. By Assault Air Bike. Feel the burn.
Back to the Caja Magica and the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. After one event, your early leader is the team from the United States. They're followed closely behind by Canada, Europe behind them. The Pacific team has a lot of making up to do, but they could turn it around right now in an event that features strength. Now, as strength events are very common to the CrossFit Games and Games competitions like the Invitational, but there was a curveball delivered when the athletes found out they do this event not with a barbell, but with these heavy, awkward Atlas stones. Here's how it works. 2 female pairs. First, we'll see Europe and Pacific. They'll start on the first stone. They're responsible for 5 repetitions apiece before they advance to the 145-pound stone. They'll alternate with each repetition. They do 3 at the 145-pound stone, and finally arrive at the final 160-pound stone for 1 repetition apiece. Now, you got to keep in mind, they have not had very much access to these stones, so which team can adapt? Sean?
Thank you, Rowan. You heard him say that they haven't had a lot of experience with this. They got a time to play with it during practice yesterday, but they only got 5 reps at each one, and we saw some athletes really struggle with that.
Yeah, it was either you did really well or you did very poorly between the two. And Sarah, when she grabbed the hold of that stone, and what's funny is she doesn't really have a lot of experience, but she's so powerful. She grabbed the stone and had no issue all the way through either of the weights, whereas Tia-Clair Toomey, she was struggling. So, this is one of those things where these athletes seem to be able to adapt to the fly, and this is a real-world fitness test. It's an odd object, and that's what we're here to see if these guys can do.
We see that a lot in CrossFit events. We want to see how quickly athletes can adapt to a new challenge. Tia Toomey and Cara Webb talking over some strategy here. Webb didn't seem to have much of a problem with the stones yesterday. I talked to Sarah Sigmundsdottir. She said, "Oh, I remember how to do this." She put her hands around it and she said, "I don't remember how to do this." And she got some help from her teammate. Now I think she's pretty comfortable with it. Those two women, both from Iceland. Katrin Davidsdottir on the left. She's the reigning fittest woman on earth. Sarah Sigmundsdottir on the right led most of the CrossFit Games until the final 2 events. She wound up finishing in 3rd.
And being this is a strength event, if you have the two very strong, very good athletic women leading off in this particular event, you know that Europe's going to be standing for a really good shot here.
Tia Toomey and Cara Webb will be the pair for the Pacific team, who started off extremely well in that first event before falling behind. Cara Webb, who knows how to suffer through some pretty miserable events. We saw her at the games just have a terrible time during Murph. Despite that, she wound up finishing 5th, her best career finish at the CrossFit Games.
You know, we were talking to Rob Forte earlier, and his role that he wanted for Cara was to kind of take Tia under her wing and be able to, on the floor, on the competitive floor, be able to keep her fired up, keep her moving, and keep her head in the game, which I think is a great position for Cara to be in.
Event 2 underway. It is worth 3 points to the winner for the women. 2 points for second, and 3rd place for third, none for 4th. 5 stone to shoulder for each athlete. This first stone weighing 130 pounds. The next one weighs 145, and the final stone, 160.
Now, there are 2 techniques that you're going to see here with these ladies, what they're doing. One will be where they lower themselves down and get their elbows all the way around, just like what Katrin did there down at the bottom of the screen, and also what Cara did. But if you see the difference between Tia Toomey, she goes more with a long arm, more of a deadlifting technique, much more efficient when you get to a heavier movement. You can see her re-wrapping that ball, trying to keep that ball up high on her chest, because the higher the ball is on the chest, the less that she's going to have to roll that ball, the ball up from her hips to her shoulder.
Sarah Sigmundsdottir and Katrin Davidsdottir are making quick work of that 130-pound stone, and they only have 3 reps remaining. 10, the magic number. No rep there, as head judge Adrian Bosman on the right saying that Sigmundsdottir did not have control at the top. They need to wait for the okay from the judge before they can place that ball on the mat.
One thing I want to say is look how high their butt is coming up when they're going for that lift. This is the lighter weight, so I'm thinking that they can just try to yank it off the ground. But I know that that's going to have an effect as they get to the heavier weights. These women really need to be careful and be smart on those lighter weights as they're moving.
The Europe team first to advance to that 145-pound stone. Each woman needs to complete 3 successful lifts. And then finally it's on to the 160-pound stone. They each need to do just 1. The Pacific team falling behind. The fastest time among the 4 teams will win. This is not a bracket-style event. So they are still competing against times from the 2 teams yet to go, Canada and the United States.
Now, even though the Pacific team is behind, I think that the way they're moving is going to serve them better when they get to these heavier weights. You can see the European women are really, look how high Sarah's butt is coming up in the air. I just think that that's really going to hurt them as they get to these higher weights, and then also the upcoming events that we have to deal with.
Tia Toomey shouldering that stone and dropping it on that pad. They need to drop it on that pad in order for the rep to count after they show control on their shoulder. Davidsdottir with her final rep of 3, and now Sarah Sigmundsdottir on her final repetition.
Just the fact that Sarah's so powerful, she's able to just manhandle that ball up into the air.
On to the final stone, 160 pounds. Davidsdottir muscling that thing to her shoulder, and she gets the okay from head judge Adrian Bosman, and now it's Sarah Sigmundsdottir with 1 at 160 pounds. The fastest time of the 4 teams will win this, and Sigmund's daughter struggling with that. She has it in the lap and cannot control it, but she got it to her lap. That will help her if the Pacific team can't lift this weight. That is a tie-break factor that comes in if they can get it to the lap.
So the difference here with the technique is that she got it to her hips and she tried to her arms went straight. The second her arms went straight, the ball stayed low on her hips and she was struggling rolling that ball up.
Sarah Sigmund's daughter tried to tag in Katrin David's daughter, but David's daughter can't go anymore because she has already completed a successful lift. So Sigmund's daughter has to stay on the floor until she can complete a lift. David's daughter is done. Cara Webb has completed one, and the Pacific team is starting to come back as Tia Toomey will address the 160-pound stone.
Now this is what we're talking about, technique versus just try to brute strength it. Sarah Sigmund's daughter has been struggling trying to brute strength this ball up. She's also tried 3 attempts, so she could be too tired. Tia Toomey, who was struggling yesterday, is sitting in a great position, lapping that ball. And look at that, using her hips. Impressive. We were not expecting to see that at all. That was beautiful. That was technique.
Cara Webb and Tia Toomey will take the first heat for the Pacific team. Sigmund's daughter gets that thing to her shoulder and they are across the finish line. Remember, it's the best time out of these 4 teams. They're not going in a bracket style. So the time to beat right now belongs to the Pacific team, 4:13.06. And again, you mentioned it, technique beats strength here.
And I thought for sure that this was going to be a struggle for the Pacific team. But wow, I mean, whatever Rob Forte was talking about to his women about how to move that ball appropriately, they did exactly right. But with Sarah Sigmund's daughter, I think it was just, you can only brute strength things so much. You have to have that technique to move efficiently.
Sam Briggs, the Europe coach, talking to Sarah Sigmund's daughter, who is obviously disappointed in what just transpired. But the woman who we did not expect to do well here, Tia Toomey, found a great technique, and when slow and steady really worked for them.
And it was, look at how both Cara and Tia, they wrapped that ball high up onto their chest, and they didn't have to move their hands a whole lot more. Look, onto the lap, low grip on that ball, and the ball stayed exactly high on the chest, which allowed her to get her shoulder underneath. That was perfect stone throwing right there.
And then on the final stone, Tia Toomey was patient, showed great technique, and takes the heat for the Pacific team, and she is standing by with Rory McKernan.
So Tia Toomey, you continue to be full of surprises. You didn't have a lot of access to these stones. You never practiced with them before. So yesterday when the event was announced, how were you feeling about it?
I was very nervous. I was expecting a barbell clean ladder, which I would have loved, but when those stones came out, my heart dropped. And we got a little play, just 5 attempts on each stone, and I don't even think I tried 3. It was very nerve-wracking.
And yesterday you had trouble with the first stone. Today you got the final one. What changed?
Just having the experience from Cara and Rob and Ben and Kevin, they're just helping me prep all night and basically telling me how to do it. And I guess the atmosphere from everyone here.
Great. Thanks, Tia.
Tia Toomey and Cara Webb trying to lock up 3 points for their team. We'll be back with heat number 2 at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. Back at the Caja Magica in Madrid, Spain, where the United States hold the lead over Canada and Europe after one event. Second and final heat of event 2. It's the United States facing off against Canada. Margot Alvarez and China Cho for the Americans, Emily Abbott and Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet for Canada, each woman with 5 stone to shoulders on that 130-pound stone.
All these athletes seem to be moving the first stone really, really well. I kind of want to put my favorite towards the American team, just because if you watch how they're moving the stone, even the lightweight, but it's staying low, that's saving their back for the largest stones. Plus they have longer arms, and you know, when you have to reach around an object like that, the longer arm athletes just tend to have a little bit more of an advantage.
Emily Abbott for Canada slipping on that attempt.
And what I would do is don't have her hands open like that. She should be locking around that ball. Also, being lower on that stone will be a much more effective movement.
The time to beat belongs to the Pacific team at 4:13.06 seconds as they edged out Europe, who finished in 4:21.96. 10 total reps before they will move on to the 145-pound stone. Well, each woman will then have to do 3 successful lifts, and so far neither team having problems with the 130-pound stone.
The only thing I would say for the USA team is just to be a little bit closer to that pad so they don't have to get up on the shoulder and then walk forward. That's just time wasted. But moving really, really well.
3 points goes to the winner of event number 2. 2 points goes to second, 1 to third, and none to fourth place. Both teams onto the 145-pound stone. Team Canada is on the right, the United States on the left. And for Canada, you really could not have 2 more different athletes. You have Emily Abbott, who loves this type of stuff, and then you have Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, who's more of a technician is what I guess I should say.
I think that's a valid point, but I mean, both of the Canadian women are very strong. And I mean, look how easy Camille moves that ball. I mean, she's not struggling with it at all. In fact, I would have thought that if of the 2, she would struggle more just with her arm length, but it looks like Emily's struggling just a touch more. She needs to be a little bit more explosive with her hips. If you watch the American women on the blue on the left-hand side of your screen there, real explosive with their hips. Margot needs to try to keep her hands locked underneath that ball a little bit more, but that pop of the hips is really helping her get that up to her shoulder.
Canada done first. They're trying to chase down the winning time so far, the best time of 4:13.06 by the Pacific team. Abbott has got that 160-pound stone in her lap. She will work it to her shoulder. And now Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet is the only woman left for Canada. Margot Alvarez for the United States will complete that.
That was a great arch. That's what helped Margot get that lift.
Now Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, she hits this. She's going to win the event in 3 points for Canada. And Bazinet has it. One final sprint to the finish line. Canada will take event 2. They lock up 3 points. The United States will finish in second. They will earn 2. Pacific will get 1 point.
Real impressive with Team Canada. I mean, first of all, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, I would not have expected her to move as fast and as furious as she did on that, again, being shorter, but in shorter arms. But she just went straight from the ground right to her shoulder on every single lift, whether it was the lightweight ball or the heavy ball. That was beautiful.
Canada, 306.68 by 3 seconds over the United States. Pacific, who looked good early thanks to the efforts of Tia Toomey, will finish in third, in Europe taking fourth in the second of 5 events here at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. We will reset, and the men will be up next. But Emily Abbott and Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet, that was the only really fumble that we saw the whole time.
And that was a stumble in the beginning, the lightweight ball. She didn't do that at the heavy ball, so it was real impressive that her technique actually improved as they got heavier.
Rory McKernan is standing by with the 2014 Reebok CrossFit Games champion, Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet.
So, Camille, you said that you don't have a lot of access to these, or you haven't practiced these a lot. You only got 5 repetitions at each weight yesterday, but you practiced a little bit last night. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think doing about over 1,000 in my dream kind of helped. They say it's 90% mental, so I guess that did help.
During practice, it's a lot different. How did the heart rate and going faster affect the event?
To be honest, I think it was obvious that me and Emily were trying to just stay calm through it. I know that especially having the advantage of going second, I saw that the last one might felt heavier than what we thought. So I just wanted to stay control and get that last one at the first time.
Well, congratulations, you picked up some points. Thanks, Camille.
The United States has a 1-point lead over Canada. Europe with 2, Pacific bringing up the rear.
Welcome back. This is the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational from the Caja Magica in Madrid. 2 events are done, and the U.S. is now just leading by 1 point, but now it's the men's turn. The event is the same, but the weights are heavier. The men face 5 repetitions each at 175 pounds. The second weight, 215, 3 for each male, and they'll end up here at this behemoth. Even though it's only 18 inches tall, it's 40 pounds more than my body weight. This thing is 250 pounds. Now remember, the men haven't had a lot of time to practice, so it's all about which team can adapt. Sean?
Thank you, Ro. 250 pounds, and each man needs to lift at one time. And again, not a lot of practice with this thing yesterday. We saw some men really struggle with it, but Jonakoski very confident coming into this event.
You know, what was interesting was the word on the street is that these guys were gaming the field yesterday. They didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to show everyone that they have this event, they think, in the bag, that they can move this. So I don't know if they've had a lot of practice. Maybe the fact that Yoni works with Mikko and Mikko with Rogue. Maybe there's that setup there with, actually playing with some stones. But they didn't even touch it. Picked it to his hips, and that was it.
Kevin Manuel for the Pacific team is a guy who loves grunt work. I think he's looking forward to getting his hands on these as well.
He's got those long arms. Of course he's going to be good at this, and he's just very powerful, so I think he's not going to have any issue. It may be Ben Gerard in the back with the short arms that may have the issue.
Pacific and Europe in the first of 2 heats, and now event 3, 3 points going to the winner. The fastest time of the 4 teams will win, not bracket style, so you only have 1 go at this thing. And Gudmundsson and Koski looking like they're having no problems with that first stone that weighs 175 pounds.
Again, this is where we start to see, do they have the technique, or are they just trying to manhandle this ball up into the air? Most of them are moving pretty well. Man, Gudmundsson just is so powerful. We knew he was strong from the games. I wasn't really sure, though, if he'd be able to contend with a heavyweight, you know, next to Manuel or Gerard, but I mean, he's doing great.
5 reps each for each man at 175 pounds. Then it's on to the stone that weighs 215 pounds, and each man will need to complete 3 successful lifts. Europe and Pacific trading the lead back and forth as Koski and Gudmundsson are the first 2 men to advance the 215-pound stone, and they really need to get going here because their team so far sits in 4th place with 0 points. And Koski struggling at 215, and Manuel had that thing go over his shoulder. It won't count, so no rep for Kevin Manuel. He has to put it down in front of him.
Now, if you look at the difference right there between those 2 athletes, Joona Koski and Gudmundsson were both struggling. They're trying to pick up the ball with their arms bent. Where if you look at Kevin Manuel right there, he has a straighter arm pickup. It's easier on the back. It allows you to get that ball to your hips and then reset instead of trying to go straight to the shoulder.
Koski muscling that one up as Ben Gerard gets it to his shoulders as well. 3 lifts needed from each man before the advance to that 250-pound stone. Now Gudmundsson's starting to struggle a little bit as well. Pacific with a 2-rep lead on Europe.
Ben Gerard, a very powerful hip pop, getting that ball up to his shoulder. No problems for him so far.
Personality-wise for the Pacific team, 2 really opposite athletes. Kevin Manuel, more of a laid-back kind of quiet guy. Ben Gerard, pretty fiery. Gerard said he wanted Manuel to go first on the 250-pound stone because when he sees him lift it, it's going to fire him up. Pacific, first to the 250-pound stone. They're not only going up against the Europe team here, they're going up against the teams who have yet to go. Manuel lining up for his first attempt at 250.
Those long arms, keeping them nice and straight as he gets to his hips. Perfect movement there. See, his hands are separating. He needs to lock his hands lower on that ball, and that's going to enable him to keep a better handhold with that Atlas stone.
He did get that to his lap, and that could come into play if neither one of these teams can complete a successful lift. Gudmundsson and Koski now on the 250-pound stone. Gudmundsson will go first. Björgvin Gudmundsson will make it. And he's hearing it from his very partial Europe crowd. Manuel lining up for his second attempt. Pacific has yet to complete a lift. Koski preparing to make a run. Manuel on the right, struggling to get it to his shoulder.
There he goes. He's locking his hands now. Kevin Manuel is, and that's going to enable him to get that up a little bit higher. He needs to drop that one arm down a little bit sooner.
Koski will make the lift, and the Europe team will take the first heat. 3:42.2 seconds. Now the Pacific team are still battling against Canada and the United States, so they need to keep going here.
Now the issue with Ben Gerard, he just is having a hard time getting underneath that large round object with his, he just got shorter arms. You can see his hands are really trying to slip right now. I think he really needs to chalk up as much as he can, and that's going to help him to at least keep his hands locked onto that ball.
Manuel and Gerard continuing to just alternate attempts here. Each man has got it to his lap. Manuel just can't get it to the shoulder though. Gerard,
he's being impatient. He's being impatient. He needs to be a little bit lower on the ball, and that'll help him to get that up to his shoulder.
Those are the family members of the Pacific team that we just saw trying to cheer their team to victory here. 20 seconds remaining before we hit the 5-minute time cap.
And yesterday, Ben was able to hit this in practice. So I know this is really, really messing with him mentally.
10 to the cap. Manuel making one more run. And it will not happen for Kevin Manuel. Gerard's going to give it another try for the heck of it. And that's the time cap. Benny Gerard frustrated. Those two hoping that their time of 3:42.20 seconds will stand as Canada and the United States are up next.
You know what? I was not expecting that at all. Not expecting that at all. Gudmundsson was powerful all of the way through. A little bit of struggle every once in a while, but real powerful. I was more worried about Jonakoski to see what he'd be able to do, but the fact that they went to that big stone, took their time, and just were able to battle that ball up to their shoulder. Extremely impressed with that team. Look at that big hip pop.
Jonakoski and Bjorgvin Gudmundsson setting the time to beat. Rory McKernan is standing by with Bjorgvin Gudmundsson.
Bjorgvin, yesterday in practice, you didn't even approach the final stone. Was that a little bit of gamemanship?
No, not really. I'm really afraid of the stone yesterday. 215 was like the heaviest that was gonna go. But adrenaline, man.
Well, congratulations on the event. Thanks.
Bjorgvin Gudmundsson and Jonakoski trying to lock up 3 points and get their team back in the hunt here at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. We're in the middle of the third of 5 scored events here at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational, and the top 2 teams on the floor as the United States clings to a 1-point lead over Canada. Event 3 Features some pretty heavy stones. The first at 175, the second at 215, the third at 250 pounds. Each man needs to lift the first 5, the second, third, and the final one time. Dan Bailey for the United States messed with this yesterday. You can see his right ear took a chunk of skin off of that thing while he was messing with these yesterday.
That's just what happened when you would throw on a big old piece of concrete like that.
Froning and Bailey for the United States, Alex Vigneault and Lucas Parker for Canada. The time to beat belongs to Europe. Jonakoski and Bjorn Gudmundsson put up a time of 3:42.20 seconds. The winner of this event will earn 3 points. Second place gets 2, third gets 1, fourth will get 0.
Now the one person that I'm a little bit concerned with out of these 4 athletes is going to be Dan Bailey. He was able to get the 250-pound stone to his lap yesterday, wasn't able to get it up overhead or up to his shoulder. I know that Lucas Parker has done work with the stone before. We know that Alex Vigneault is extremely powerful and Rich is extremely powerful. So of all 4, I want to look to see how Dan Bailey is going to be able to handle that last stone when they get up to that point.
The United States has the lead on Canada. Each man needs to complete 5 successful lifts before they move on to the next stone that weighs 215 pounds. Bailey and Froning setting a pretty good pace to open things up, and they will move on to the 215-pound stone. Canada close behind them.
I think it's kind of a good move. Dan Bailey, you can see he's got his forearms wrapped, a little bit of tape on his forearms, because that's exactly where the stone sits. So maybe in his eyes, he's trying to get a little bit more of a tacky grip on that stone.
Vigneault muscling that stone up. We have representatives from just about every country that is here competing on the floor, but very partial European crowd. Although Rich Froning received the loudest ovation out of anybody when he was introduced earlier.
He's kind of a popular guy. He's kind of a popular guy.
He's kind of a big deal. People know him. We are now tied through 15 reps as the Americans-Canadians move to the 215-pound stone at the same time. Vigneault first for Canada, Froning first for the Americans.
There's
and shocking, no problem for Rich Froning. Dan Bailey urging the crowd to get behind him. The Canadians still with 2 to go. Vigneault struggling, and Dan Bailey can't get it to his lap, but not losing his composure. He'll make another attempt. Froning coaching him through here. The time to beat, 3:42.20 seconds.
There we go. Now he's got to really rewrap that ball, get underneath it, and he's got to keep that ball as close to his chin as he can. That was actually a good move, but what he didn't do, he didn't pop his hips into the ball, and that would have helped him get it up onto his shoulder.
Parker has completed 1. Both these teams now tied and trying to chase down Europe. 3 points goes to the winner. Dan Bailey still has some time to rest here, but Alex Vigneault's right back on the 250-pound stone.
Alex has those long arms, and he needs that big pop, and you can see his hands are at the top of the ball. He needs to get underneath that, then pop his hips. Right here, all he needs to do is pop those hips, and he would have been all right.
Vigneault loses the grip. Bailey will make another attempt. And Dan Bailey just doesn't seem to be able to get a good grip on that thing, and that's just the way he's built.
That's what happens when you have short arms. I think what he needs to do is not try to reach out in front of the ball, but try to get his fingers like pinched underneath the ball, directly underneath the ball.
20 seconds to go before Europe will lock up the win in this event and earn 3 points. They're the only team so far that's been able to complete this event.
You can see Lucas Parker telling Alex to get underneath that ball. That's exactly what he needed.
Almost for Alex Vigneault. Europe is going to win the event. They'll take 3 points, and those are 3 much-needed points for them. The team that gets across the finish line underneath the time cap, which is 5 minutes, can lock up second place. Dan Bailey now making another attempt. Bailey now can just barely move it off the ground.
I just think his positioning is a little bit off. Every time he goes to lift the ball up, it's actually pulling it underneath him. It's not the position he needs to be in.
The crowd now getting behind Alex Vigneault, who was so close on his last attempt. 45 seconds to go before we hit the 5-minute time cap.
Oh.
Vigneault had the hip pop, but his hand's too high.
Again, too high with that grab.
Dan Bailey still can't get the ball to his lap. Vigneault resting up. And he'll have time for about one more attempt. Lucas Parker is there letting him know how much time he has left. No need to rush. If Vigneault hits this, Canada can finish second. Dan Bailey looks like he might be bleeding a little bit.
Yeah.
Parker coaching Vigneault. Vigneault, 8 seconds. He will get it. And Canada will make it across the finish line, and they will get second place.
Wow.
And chances are they're going to overtake the United States for the lead with 2 events to go.
Now again, we don't want to say that it's due to short arms or anything like that. We hate to say that you're not built to do a particular workout, but this really did come down to technique and form. And that's exactly what Team Canada did all the way through. Their women and their men, extremely impressive.
Alex Vigneault made multiple attempts at 250. This is the last one, and he got a lot of help from Lucas Parker.
And he had no problem getting it to his hips. That was never the issue, but he had to keep that ball up high. That was a great hip pop, and he was able to get his arms underneath that ball to get it up to his shoulder.
Canada just getting inside the 5-minute time cap. Alex Vigneault will help his team finish second place. They will earn 2 points. Europe gets 3. 2 events to go at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. Three events down, 2 remain at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational, and just like last year, it's Canada and the United States fighting for the top spot. Europe is in 3rd, Pacific sits in 4th. The 4th event gets a little complicated. We'll get to that after each station, but it starts off with each teammate needing to complete 25 handstand push-ups. Then they move to barbells that get progressively heavier with snatching, cleans, and then a final 50-foot tire flip.
And I think basically the key point to mention here is the cumulative effect that they just had to deal with the stones. And then we got a lot of Olympic lifting. So the assault on that posterior chain, on that low back, is going to be rough for these athletes so early. Or so quickly, I mean.
The fourth of 5 events underway and begins with a sprint to the rig. This is where strategy comes in. One athlete will start doing 25 handstand push-ups. Everyone else needs to be doing a static hold. After 25 handstand push-ups are complete, the athletes rotate. The person who just completed 25 handstand push-ups will rest. So if you go first, you get the most rest. If you're going last, you're doing the most work.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. So there is a strategy in that particular section, as they have in all these particular events. Where do you want to put your players? Where is that weak link going to be? You know, when it comes down to it, the granularity of all these events is that each piece is going to be important, and you have to have your weakest link not be that weak to have your team succeed.
Emily Abbott was done first for the Canadian team. Now she will rest. 3 athletes remain. As Europe, Jonakoski working through his set of 25. It looks like just about every team has completed their first set of 25 handstand push-ups.
Margot moving great through there. All these athletes, 25 handstand, keeping handstand push-ups, in fact, are not difficult for these athletes. But what you have to remember is, usually when we have a workout that's put together like this is something that just is going to kind of be a little kick in the gut before you actually start the workout. So let's burn the shoulders out. Let's turn the blood upside down. Let's burn your grip out by hanging on that bar, and then see how you can handle some Olympic lifting movements.
Europe is your leader. Canada sits in second, followed closely by Pacific and the United States. If any member comes off of their static hold, the person doing handstand push-ups has to stop. Sarah Sigmundsdottir is cranking through her 25, and she is the final athlete for Europe. They will then move on to the barbells.
And she's just mechanical through those handstand push-ups. And again, the standard is just keeping their hands inside that box and locking out those arms.
The United States is on to their final athlete. It's Dan Bailey, who's on the bottom left-hand part of your screen in the blue. The Europeans are on to the snatches. The men will make 2 reps each, and then the women will do 2 reps each, and then they will advance.
And I don't know why Rich Froning Dan Bailey decided to go strict handstand push-ups there. Granted, it may be a little bit faster, but why waste energy if you don't need to?
There's a little confusion there between Bailey and his judge. He tags Rich Froning. That first barbell weighs 185 pounds. Each man needs to snatch it twice, and then the women will perform 2 snatches each. Their first barbell weighs 120 pounds.
Not a real heavyweight when you talk about this for a games level athlete, but for the European men, the heavy snatch events, the heavy clean and jerk events were not necessarily their forte. So they just need to kind of stay in the game as much as they can, let the women kind of do what they need to do, which is they're going to be great, and not let the rest of the field get ahead of them.
Europe leads. They're through 116 repetitions. When the athletes advance the barbell after their first 4 reps at 120 pounds for the women and 185 for the men, they'll advance the barbell, then they have to add weight. The men go up to 205, the women go up to 130. That's the second set of 4. Teams cannot advance until all 4 members have completed their lifts on the snatches. The tire is the final implement after the cleans, and that's what Canada had trouble with last year. It kept them off the top of the podium at the 2014 Reebok CrossFit Invitational in San Jose, California.
So you saw the Team Europe make that little weight change as they made it up into the second station for those snatches. They're really moving great. All 4 of their athletes are moving swift through these movements.
Oski hits that. 2 105 pounds.
Now they don't have to do a squat snatch. It can be a power snatch if they're able to do it. But the nice thing about a squat snatch is you don't have to get that bar up as high. You know, personally, I do a little bit better with the squat snatch than I do with the power snatch.
Europe continues to lead. Sarah Sigmundsdottir, Katrin Davidsdottir, Björkman Gudmundsson, and Jonakoski. 132 reps and counting. 161 is the magic number. Canada sits in second. They're 3 reps behind the United States and Pacific, fighting for third. Coming into this event, the United States and Canada tied atop the standings with 9 points each, and now a no rep was given to Björkman Gudmundsson. Meanwhile, Pacific has taken the lead. They came out of nowhere in the green shirts, and they are your leaders here in event number 4 as they are onto the cleans. They can perform them at the same time, where it's the snatches need to be men first, then women. They can't advance until all 4 team members have completed 2 successful lifts each. Canada has moved ahead of Europe.
I'll tell you what, if you the one place you don't want to have Canada being in the lead is where there are Olympic lifting movements, because both Alex and Lucas are extremely strong lifters, and then same thing with the women. Camille's an amazing lifter, and Evelyn Abbott is just so powerful.
The United States is on to their cleans. Pacific and Canada fighting for the lead. Pacific is in 4th place with just 1 point. The men and women can do the cleans at the same time. The snatches need to be done separately. The cleans can be done at the same time. Each athlete needs to hit 2 successful lifts, and then they move on as a group. The final barbell for the men weighs 285. The final barbell for the women weighs 185. Ben Gerard at the bottom of your screen, hitting 2 and moving to the final station where they'll have to now flip that tire. They have to do it in male-female pairs, and they have to alternate. Tia Toomey, 1 lift to go, and now Pacific onto the tire before Cara Webb. Now she has 2 lifts to go. Toomey and Manuel done with their first flip. The Pacific team has a significant lead on the field here. No problem with this tire. It weighs about 880 pounds. Manuel and Toomey tagging off to Gerard and Webb. Pacific looking for their first win of this competition. 6 points to the winner of this event. This will vault them right back into contention. Toomey and Manuel with a final flip, and the Pacific team has taken event 4. The fight for second place with the United States leading that. They're trying to leave Canada in the dust, and they are doing so. It's the United States looking at 4 points and trying to take over the lead from Canada.
These teams are making this tire look so light. Last year's tire, I think, was heavier because we've seen teams actually fail, but that's not the case with this tire this year.
The United States is in. They will finish second. They earn 4 points. Canada will get 2, and Europe still stuck on that heavy 285-pound barbell for the men. Koski will complete that lift behind the Canadians. Canada gets 2 points, so no points for Europe, and Canada is going to move into 3rd place, and they're still within striking distance with 1 event to go. Sarah Sigmundsdottir completing her 2 lifts. The crowd getting behind Jonakoski, the youngster from Pori, Finland. 21 years old, and he's already been to the CrossFit Games twice. But this is where we've seen him struggle in the past.
And he's just not as strong as the other athletes in the field. I mean, an amazing athlete, not taking anything away from there. But just a little technical issue. He kept that hook grip. You can watch his thumbs. A hook grip is when an athlete will lay their thumb against the bar and it actually locks their hand on the bar. He needs to let go of that so he can get his elbows up higher and be able to pull that lift off. It'll allow that bar to get closer to his neck, better position to lift in.
Here's a strategy question. They can't finish any better than they have, but they're going to continue to work because that's what they do. But they still have 1 event to go. There are no points on the line here for them.
Absolutely. But you know, when you're in Europe and your team Europe, I just don't think that any athlete could do that. Now, is there a strategy to do that? Absolutely. But all these athletes are here to compete. Yes, it's for fun, quote unquote, for fun. But they still want to show, you know, these are the best athletes around. So they want to show what they can do.
And part of this community is that you always finish a workout no matter what it takes, and that's exactly what the Europe team is doing. Although they will earn 0 points for a 4th place finish in event number 4. Just one event remains. And Europe is across the finish line to close out event 4. But the Pacific team is the team that will take the win, and they will earn 6 points. They'll move into 3rd place overall. Tia Toomey talking with her coach, Rob Forte. Kevin Manuel is there as well. And now Forte calling them together to talk strategy for the 5th and final event. Pacific by more than 20 seconds over the United States. Canada will finish 3rd, and Europe gets 4th place. And we weren't paying too much attention to Pacific, but they just exploded on that barbell and then quick work on the tire.
It made the tire look like, I mean, that was more of just icing on the cake. It wasn't really a hard segment for them. They just kind of blew through it, but a very powerful team. The way they moved through there was impressive, super impressive.
First event win for the Pacific team. Rory McKernan is standing by with the 5th fittest woman on earth, Cara Webb.
Cara, you're an amazing individual competitor. You've been in this kind of environment a couple of times. How do those two things differ, competing on a team and individually?
Yeah, oh God, I'm loud again. They are totally different, you know. We're all, you know, really happy, content, good individual athletes. And it's just about trying to understand each other and essentially blend ourselves together as best we can. And that's where the challenge lies, you know, we've got to be ready. You know, I find our team's a little bit too compassionate about each other. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, and I'm like, there's no sorries, let's just do the best we can, and you know, that's all we really can do is do the best we can, carry each other the best we can, and then whatever happens, happens.
The Australians always seem like a tight-knit group. I know you live in different places, but how often do you train together?
Yeah, we don't really ever train together. You know, Rob, our coach, I've trained with him on and off quite a few times, but I've only ever trained with Tia once for a second a couple of weeks ago, and then when we got here, and same with the boys, you know. It's my first time competing with Kev, and I guess we're learning a lot about each other. So yeah, we kind of come from all different parts, but you know, I guess what we have in common is that we are Aussies and we are ready to, you know, come together and just have a good spirit, I guess.
Great, well, congratulations. You picked up enough points to get back in contention. Thanks, Cara.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ro. The United States has a lead over Canada in the Pacific. All teams still alive here. And we'll be back at the Caja Magica in Madrid, Spain. Coming up, a look at the global growth of this fitness phenomenon. The 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational on ESPN, brought to you by Rogue, the official equipment supplier of the CrossFit Invitational. By Compex, makers of Compex muscle stimulators.
Welcome back to the Caja Magica here in Madrid, Spain. The crowd is going crazy here. The Americans have the lead, but only just by 2 points. Now, you can see that the CrossFit Games fans here in Europe are fanatical. So, looking at this scene, it's hard to believe that once upon a time, the CrossFit Games looked a lot more like a backyard barbecue than a worldwide fitness phenomenon.
The CrossFit Games were born in the USA. Aromas, California hosted the inaugural competition in 2007, with mostly local athletes competing for personal bragging rights and a $500 cash prize. As the CrossFit methodology rapidly spread, its reach extended beyond US borders, uncovering top athletes from hotspots across the globe. Participation and then domination by international competitors from Canada, Australia, and the Nordic countries helped spread the message of CrossFit's power to a worldwide audience. Altogether, the CrossFit Games have produced 13 podium finishers from outside the US. The international women in particular have dominated the Games, taking the last 5 championships and sweeping the top 3 last July. With 13,000 affiliated gyms in 130 countries, the sport has a global audience rooted in local communities. And from these communities, participation in the Open has exploded each year, growing to 273,000 in 2015. Global expansion has also elevated the level of competition exponentially. The winner of the CrossFit Games is truly the fittest athlete on earth. In 2012, an international all-star event was introduced. London, Berlin, and San Jose, California have hosted this winner-take-all throwdown. Now, the CrossFit Invitational arrives in Madrid. In 2016, the CrossFit Games celebrates its 10th anniversary, a fitting tribute to a truly international sport with fans the world over.
A man who has had one of the best seats in the house when it comes to the growth of the sport of fitness is a 4-time Team USA member and 4-time champion of the CrossFit Games, Rich Froning. Rich, from where you're sitting, what stands out about the growth of CrossFit?
Oh, it's just cool. You know, everywhere we go, it's the same community. It attracts the same people. It may speak a different language, but it's the same type of people that end up in CrossFit gyms, and everybody's so welcoming, and it's just it's cool to see.
So for a down-to-earth man like yourself from Cookeville, Tennessee, you're here in the capital of Madrid, and I've seen you can't even walk around without being recognized. How's your experience been?
It's been awesome. The Spanish people have been incredibly welcoming. Have been nothing but friendly, so it's been cool. It's kind of crazy to think about somebody from Tennessee is getting recognized in Spain. It's pretty cool.
All right, let's talk about this year's Invitational. Very close race. You've been here before. How do you like your chances in this final event?
I like our chances. I think, like I said the other day, every team here is pretty evenly matched. All these events play to everybody's strengths and weaknesses. So, I mean, I think it's just it'll be a fight to the end.
You moved from coach to competitor. How has that worked? Are you more coach or more competitor? How do you approach the being on the team and coaching?
Like I said before, these guys and girls don't need any coaching. They know what to do. They know how to work out. I mean, maybe a little bit of the experience effect has helped a little bit, but I think they know what to do. So I'm glad to be competing. I'm sorry Ben's hurt, but you know, hate it for him. Hopefully he gets healthy soon.
Thanks, Rich. Short break now. It all comes down to the final event when we return to the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational.
One event remains at the Caja Mágica in Madrid, Spain, and 3 teams are still alive for the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational Championship. The United States, Canada, and Pacific still have a chance. Canada was in this position last year. One event separated them from victory. Here they are again. Rory McKernan is standing by with their coach.
Michelle, it seemed like there was some last-minute tweaks going on. What are you guys deciding right now as a team?
We knew this was going to happen, so we're just deciding order based on fatigue levels.
At breakfast this morning, I saw you being pretty meticulous about planning. How has it played out so far according to your plan?
Everything's going really good. Everything's going perfect.
It's a close race. How do you like your chances in this final one?
I like it a lot. These guys are going to do what they're doing and what they've done so far, and they've worked hard, and they've done amazing teamwork. So whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to be proud of them, and I think Canada will be too.
Thanks, Michelle.
Michelle Lethard, the head coach of the Canada team, the 5th and final event. Athletes will do 4 synchronized muscle-ups on rings and pull-up bars. They will rotate counterclockwise. They will then do 5 synchronized muscle-ups, rotate again, 6, and then finally 7. Then it's a row with the women with static hold, and then an assault bike with a static hold. 20 worm thrusters, and then 20 worm ground to shoulders. There can be a lot that goes on here. 3 teams are still alive. If the United States wins, they win the whole thing.
And if you want to have, first of all, I think this plays to their strengths. Plus, Rich has done this row and hold event type thing before with his regional team, games team. So they got the experience. I think that's going to be over and above what everyone else is going to be able to deal with.
For Canada to win, they need to take the event, and they need the United States to finish 3rd or worse. Pacific, they need a lot to go right. They've got to win the event. They need the United States to finish dead last, and they need Canada to finish 3rd. Seven points goes to the winner. The team's running down to the rig. 2 athletes will be on the pull-up bar, 2 athletes will be on the rings. They have to synchronize at the top for the rep to count. They will do 4 synchronized muscle-ups, and then they will rotate counterclockwise. Perform 5, same thing 6, same thing 7.
And strategy-wise, where you want to put your quickest turnover is going to be on those rings. You don't want to have to hold up on top of those rings for a long amount of time. That's going to take a lot of stability, just energy that you blow out the window, whereas everyone on the bar can lean on the bar. They have to take that into account as they're making their way around that rig.
China Cho got to the top there after Margot Alvarez. Cho's on the left, Alvarez is on the right, but the reason that counts is because they all lock out at the same time. So that's where the synchronization comes into play. It's the Pacific team in the lead. They have about a 1-rep lead over the United States. Europe is in 3rd, but now Canada moving into 1st along with Pacific. Nine total reps will signify the end of 5 synchronized muscle-ups. 15 will signify the end of 6, and 22 will signify the end of 7. Again, the leader will be highlighted in blue at the top of your screen. The total reps they have completed will be in the white box. The rest of the teams trailing the leader will be in red. The white box will indicate how many reps they are behind the leaders.
USA team looks extremely strong. You can see Dan Bailey, he was basically counting it out, making sure that everyone knew exactly where they were. This is a very highly communication needed event. Look, you can see Camille right there, basically being the coxswain of this, cruise ship as you try to get up and down that rig, keeping everyone in order so they don't miss a rep.
Every team on their final set of 7. Then they move on to rowing and static holds. Canada has the lead. They're through 18. Once that number hits 22, that means the team can advance. Abbott gets to the top first for the Canadians. She waits for her 3 teammates. That rep will count.
You can see once the chicken wing starts to happen on those bar muscle-ups, that means you're starting to hit that fatigue moment.
The Pacific team first on to the rowers and the static holds. The women have to hold 225 pounds at their waist for the men to be able to row. They are linked together as pairs. Tia Toomey's on the left. She's paired with Kevin Manuel. Cara Webb is paired with Ben Gerard. If Webb drops her bar, Gerard has got to stop. But as long as Tia Toomey has that bar lifted, Kevin Manuel can keep rowing, but they have to advance as a foursome.
So for the ladies, I think if I was Cara, I would kind of rather have Kevin be my partner just because he's so tall.
Right now, things are playing out mostly the way they would need to for the Pacific team, although we still have a ton of event left. Again, for them to win, they have to win this event. They need Canada to finish third, and they need the United States to finish dead last. Europe has been mathematically eliminated, and that's a shock.
That is a shock. I mean, everyone was talking Europe this entire time, and I mean, they hit a rough spot. They absolutely hit a rough spot.
The women rowing first for the United States, the men holding 315 pounds at their waist. Same rules apply. If your partner drops his bar, you have to stop rowing. They will switch after this, so each person will hold and each person will row.
The hard part would be going from the rower to actually holding that weight. You're having to hold that weight under tension, hold that weight, you know, your breath, trying to breathe with all that weight hanging from your arms. This is a tough one.
Every 50 meters, 1 rep will tick off. So at 32 reps, teams will switch, as Canada has just done. They are in the lead. If Canada beats the United States, they need the Americans to finish third or worse in order to win the Invitational. Remember, it came down to that final event last year. Dan Bailey struggling to hang on to that 315. Margot Alvarez has got to stop rowing because Bailey has the bar down. Now Froning has put the bar down. And the Americans are falling back as Europe has overtaken them for third place. Alex Vigneault holding on for all he is worth. He will drop the bar, and Camila Blanc-Bazinet has to stop rowing, but Parker still holding on to his bar. Abbott can continue.
So all of these athletes, that static hold, it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a deal, but the tension on your arms, the tension on your shoulders, you can see the strain in Dan Bailey. And I want to know if he's actually hook gripping with his hand on that bar, or if he's just keeping an open grip.
Canada now finally making the switch. We jumped the gun a bit on their score, so Pacific is your leaders. They have made the switch. Their women are on the rowers. They're in the green at the bottom of your screen. Kevin Manuel and Ben Gerard hanging on to that 315-pound barbell. 500 meters need to be completed. We're tracking the slowest rower. So the slowest rower is the person whose score will count on the scoreboard above the action at the top of your screen. Every 50 meters, 1 rep will tick off. The magic number is 92.
Alex Vigneault, so strong, and again, a tall athlete. So for Camila LeBlanc-Bazinet, that's actually a great position to be in, to have a good, strong, tall, powerful rower who's going to cut through that 500 meters quick.
Coming into this event, the United States had the lead. As long as they won, they would clinch. But they have some ground to make up, but we saw them do that in the opening event.
Their team as a whole, just the USA team as a whole, is great at pacing. But I think even though you can see Dan Bailey was struggling a little bit, I think they're going to be able to make their way back through the rest of the elements of this event.
The American men are on the rower. 500 meters for them. Lucas Parker passing the 300 mark. The Pacific team continuing to work as well. Sarah Sigmund's daughter and Catherine David's daughter on the right of your screen in the black have their barbells aloft. 225 pounds on that barbell. That's a look over Bjorkman Gudmundsson's shoulder. He's about 350 meters into his 500 meter row. The United States wins, and they win the whole thing. Canada wins. They need the United States to finish third or worse for them to win. The Pacific team can take it if they win, and the United States finishes last and Canada finishes third, and the United States has taken the lead, and they're on to the assault bike. Each woman needs to complete 1,000 meters. The men need to hold 185 pounds in the front rack position. The Pacific team has moved on as well. And here comes Europe and Canada.
Now, 185 pounds does not sound like a lot for these athletes, but it's not a matter of just moving. They have to, you can see Dan Bailey switching his grip. You can see Rich Froning up at the top switching his grip. It's just a matter of keeping that bar as close to their throat as possible. That's going to be the most efficient position. Try to keep their shoulders up, but then it's the breathing factor that it really makes that position tough to be in.
Every 100 meters on the bike will count as a rep. Again, we are tracking the slowest woman on the bike. 50 or 62 reps will be the end of this portion, and that will signify the end of the men's segment. 52 will be the end for the women. Same rules apply. If the man the woman is paired with drops his barbell, the woman has to stop on the bike.
Look at Rich Froning, so calm. I mean, he's just kind of going away to that other place, but he just looks relaxed and strong. If you look at some of the other athletes, Dan Bailey is looking good right here.
The Pacific team has now grabbed the lead. Bjorn Gudmundsson holding that 185-pound barbell. And you're trying to catch your breath here, and you put that thing on your chest. I mean, that's crushing your lungs.
It is not easy at all. It's not easy at all.
United States and Pacific fighting for the top spot. Europe and Canada right behind them. Again, the United States wins the event. They win the whole thing. China Cho is done. Margot Alvarez is done. They will tag off to Rich Froning and Dan Bailey. The Pacific team done as well. Manuel and Gerard will hit the barbell. Toomey and Webb are on the bike. Bailey and Froning cannot start until Cho and Alvarez have that barbell up. Their barbell weighs 135 pounds. At 62 total reps on the scoreboard, the United States will then advance to the worm. Approaching the 10-minute mark of this fifth and final event. Rich Froning has now hit the halfway point. The United States.
And you can see Rich and Dan. You can see Rich and Dan doing exactly what they do. This is just one of those put your head down and do work, and that's exactly what they're doing.
This is a miserable apparatus, too. This hurts everything.
It does. Everyone just thinks that rowing was bad. Oh, this is not even close. Not even close.
United States in the lead. Followed closely by Canada and Pacific. Europe trying to gain some ground. They are the only team that's been mathematically eliminated here. Cho and Alvarez have continued to hold those barbells. They have not dropped it. Dan Bailey and Rich Froning. Bailey on the left, Froning's on the right. 1,000 meters on that assault bike for them. Froning's done. Cho has the barbell down. Dan Bailey closing out his 1,000-meter bike. You're going to hear it from the crowd as Froning takes off his shirt. And the United States will move to the worm. It has 3 100-pound segments, but there's more weight on each end. 20 worm thrusters. They have to squat below parallel, bring it up and over, and put it on the other shoulder. That will be 1 rep. The United States, the 2-point lead on Canada. They win this event. They earn 7 points, and they lock up their second straight CrossFit Invitational victory. The Pacific team, they have moved to the worm, as has Canada, and here comes Europe.
USA, guess what? Rich Froning has done this event in the games with his team, so he knows exactly the cadence it needs to be. He knows exactly how to tell his team where to move, how to move, and all that team needs to do is just kind of fall in line with that. Saw them practice yesterday. They looked great. They look super smooth, and they just look incredible here.
72 reps down for the United States. At 82, they will then move to worm to shoulder. They need to complete 10 as a team. And it's looking like the United States is on its way towards a second straight victory at the CrossFit Invitational. Canada still has a chance, but Canada needs to not only win the event, but they need the United States to finish 3rd or worse.
They look incredible right now. The USA looks incredible.
They have 10 ground to shoulder on that worm left. The have to move it up and over, and it has to hit the ground for the rep to count. When this competition started in 2012, it was 2 teams of 6. It was the United States versus Europe. The United States took that. The following year is the only year the United States hasn't won. That was in Berlin, where Team World beat them in an upset, and now the Americans struggling with the worm, although they are still in the lead, but Canada's starting to chip away. They're just 3 reps back now.
They need to make sure this is just current work time, but they have to stay coordinated. That's what's making this tough. You can see Rich is getting a little bit frustrated there. They need to keep the coordination. That's what's going to allow them to win.
92 is the rep number they need to hit to close it out. 5 to go for the United States. Three more reps for the Americans. And now just 2 remain for the United States, and Canada is putting on a comeback, but it's going to be too little, too late. This is an international event, but it has belonged to the Americans, and for the 2nd straight year, the United States wins the Reebok CrossFit Invitational.
That was impressive. You could see them, they were starting to fall apart, starting to lose that coordination, but really able to pull it back together. Real impressive job by U.S. You know what, I did say the U.S. was going to win. I did call them.
You are correct, Bill. You did
I did call that.
You did make that prediction.
That's going to be the case. But I do want to say this. Out of all of the teams, they may not have had the best overall games placing this particular year, but they do have the most experience across the field. 17 games appearances across this entire team, far more than anybody else, with Canada being 2nd with 14. And you know what, Canada's moving great right now as well.
The Pacific team has 2 reps to go, as does Canada. But Canada looks like it's going to be a 2nd place overall finish for them. Pacific is across. They'll earn 5 points. They will get 12 total. Not enough to catch Canada, as they will earn 3 points. They will finish 2nd again to the United States at the Invitational, and the most surprising thing is the Europe team will finish in 4th.
Man, I'm shocked. There was I don't want to say that there was a lot of hype. These are amazing athletes. I just think that when you look across the board, they didn't play into their strengths as much as they did with the other events, with the other teams, but also the least amount of experience across the board. I don't take that back. 2nd to the least amount of experience with 8 years across the board, with their team. So again, can't say they did bad. They're unbelievable athletes.
They are by far the youngest team in this competition. They have a pair of 23-year-olds. That's Gudmundsson and Sigmundsdottir. David's daughter is just 22, and Koski's 21. All of these athletes have a very, very bright future ahead of them.
I'm sure we'll see them around for a while.
Europe is across, and that will close out the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational, and the fans here at the Caja Mágica in Madrid, Spain, saluting all the athletes as they put on a heck of a show. But once again, the United States takes the championship. Dan Bailey and Rich Froning being congratulated by Kevin Manuel. Lucas Parker was a member of the team last year in San Jose, California for Canada that came oh so close to winning the title. Final results for the 5th event. The United States, more than a minute at the Pacific. And you mentioned it, it was all about experience.
It was all about experience, and I was really worried about the women on the American team, because how do you have a long endurance type workout? And that's what those 2 women are good at, and there it was. And man, they hammered this particular event. Amazing.
Waiting the final official scores. Dan Bailey just looks wrecked. He's been through a lot today, and it was well worth it as the United States team, for the 2nd straight year, takes the title. 20 total points, followed by Canada. Pacific put on a heck of a fight there towards the end. They will finish in 3rd, and Europe with 6 points finishes in 4th.
You know what? Experience is all I'm going to say. Great job, USA. Great job by all these athletes. But experience is going to win the race.
Dan Bailey's coming off his best career finish at the CrossFit Games. He finished 4th in 2015. Alex Vigneault, a good rookie for Canada. And Emily Abbott, disappointed her team could not get it done. Sarah Sigmundsdottir, all smiles, even though her team finished in fourth place as she talks things over with head coach Samantha Briggs and Margot Alvarez in her first Invitational, bringing a championship back to the United States. Once again, it's the Americans on top. We'll return to Madrid, Spain after this. The 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational on ESPN, brought to you by CrossFit and the 13,000 CrossFit affiliates worldwide. By Reebok, the exclusive outfitter of CrossFit and the CrossFit Invitational. For the second straight year, it came down to the United States and Canada in the fifth and final event, and for the second straight year, it's the United States coming out on top. Rory McKernan is standing by with two members of Team Canada.
Well, it came down to the end. Lucas, you've been here before, but what's different about the Invitational this time?
You know, Spain is a land of late nights, amazing food, and great passion. And the crowd definitely brought that passion here to the arena. I don't know if it's the CrossFitters in them or just the Spanish community in general, but the energy here was just electric. It was amazing.
How about the new format or the new team? How do they all gel together, and how did you feel about your performance?
I mean, the team was amazing last year. We did amazing last year. This year is even better. We gelled incredibly well together. We were able to love and support each other in a strange land. It really kind of brought us together as a team, and we put it all out there on the floor. I'm so proud of everyone on the team, and I know they got my back as well.
Great, thanks, Lucas. Emily, first year of the Invitational. You did fantastic at the games. How did the two experiences different for you?
This is probably the funnest 2 hours of my life, but I was more nervous for this than I was the games, like totally, because all of a sudden there's a magnifying glass, and it's just you one out of 4 people, basically, and the camera's on you. So I was really nervous, but now that it's done, it was over so quickly. This is the best 2 hours of my life.
That's fantastic. How did you manage those nerves?
Well, actually, after the first workout, I went into the bathroom and threw up. And that was the first time I've ever thrown up, ever. I was like, what's happening? And yeah, but you know what? My team was behind me. Camille said, just allow yourself to be great. And those words really resonated with me. And I just went out there and did what I had to do. I'm getting like chills right now.
Team Canada was great. Congratulations to you both.
Thanks, Ro. Fantastic showing for Team Canada at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. But in the final event, man, the United States, they were dialed in.
They were dialed in from the get-go. Great communication. You could see even when Dan was struggling a little bit on the deadlift, it didn't really matter. They didn't get flustered, and I think that's where that experience really kicked in. They were smooth. They were calm. Things would start to get a little bit unraveled, like you saw on the worm there, but they were able to pull it all together, and just a great team. And they had 3 substitutions before they even got to this team. So that's, talk about a testament to the USA group.
And once again, it's all about community. Sarah Sigma's daughter signing some autographs for the fans here. We saw Camille LeBlanc-Bazinet taking some selfies with the fans. This fan base here in Spain, this is the first time we've had an event here, and they did not disappoint. As you heard Lucas Parker say, they brought the energy.
They did bring the energy, and we saw them when we were out and about, and it just didn't matter. Once they found out you were a CrossFitter and you had that connection, they just went crazy for you. It was beautiful.
5 scored events, and it was the United States with 20 total points edging out Canada. The Pacific team put on a great show late, but it wasn't enough to get them into the top 2 in Europe. Bright future ahead of all their athletes, but they could not get it done here today in front of the home crowd, and they will finish in 4th place. Big thank you to all the volunteers here at the Caja Magica who made this event possible. They were the ones who were rolling the weights on and off the floor, the ones setting up all the equipment. We could not have done this event without them. And for the 2nd straight year, it's the United States, the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational champions. Let's head down to Dave Castro for the presentation of the trophy.
Taking 1st place in event 1, 2nd place in event 2, 3rd place in event 3, 2nd place in event 4, and winning the final event, your defending champions, the new champions of the Reebok CrossFit Invitational, Team USA!
Got to get Rich Froning over here. Come here, Coach. Congratulations, Team USA, an amazing finish. The easy question is, are you going to celebrate after this? I already see the answer, but thank you, sir. Never been so happy to be covered in champagne. Congratulations, my friends. Dan, you kind of look like you got in a dogfight. Give people a look here. Covered up. So how are you actually feeling?
I'm exhausted. That was really hard. A lot of work in a short amount of time, but it was a lot of fun. And really tested all the athletes really well, I think, as you could see everybody on the floor, especially myself, after it was over.
Congratulations, Rich. New team, same result. What do you think about your teammates and the event here at the arena?
The energy, thanks everybody for coming out. That was awesome. Probably one of the best crowds we've had at an invitational, I would say, easily. So thank you, everybody. It's great to this is a great group of guys and girls. We hung out in Cookeville for a week. We've hung out all week here, so not only great teammates, but great friends now, so it's been fun.
All right, Team USA, the champions of the Invitational. Congratulations.
That's it for the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational. Thanks for joining us in Madrid, Spain. That concludes the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational, where for the third time in 4 years, the United States reigns supreme to become the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Invitational champions. For Bill Grundler and Rory McKernan, I'm Sean Woodland. Thanks for joining us at the Caja Mágica. Good night from Madrid, Spain.